Chapter 6 of Mr. Chips. There had followed then a time of such happiness that Chips, remembering it long afterward, hardly believed it could ever have happened before or since in the world, for his marriage was a triumphant success. Catherine conquered Brookfield as she had conquered Chips. She was immensely popular with the boys and the masters alike. Even the wives of the masters, tempted at first to be jealous of someone so young and lovely, could not long resist her charms. But most remarkable of all was the change she made his Chips. Till his marriage he had been a dry and rather neutral sort of person, liked and thought well of by Brookfield in general, but not of the stuff that makes for great popularity or that stirs great affection. He had been at Brookfield for over a quarter of a century, a long to have established himself as a decent fellow and a hard worker, but this too long for anyone to believe him capable of ever being much more. He had in fact already begun to sink into that creeping dry rot of pedagogy that is the worst and ultimate pitfall for the profession. Giving the same lessons year after year had formed a groove into which the other affairs of his life adjusted themselves with insidious ease. He worked well, he was consciousness, he was a fixture that gave serious satisfaction, confidence, everything except inspiration. And then came his astonishing girl wife home. Nobody had expected, least of all Chips himself. She made him to all appearance a new man, though most of the newness was really a warming of life to things that were old impression and accuracy. His eyes gained sparkle, his mind was which was adequately if not brightly if you began to move more adventurously. And the one thing he had always had a sense of humor blossomed into a sudden richness to which his years lent maturity. He began to feel a greater strength. His discipline improved to a point at which it could become in a sense less rigid. He became more popular when he had first come to Brookfield. He had aimed to be loved, honored, and obeyed, but obeyed at any rate. Obedience he had secured, and honor had been granted him. But only now come love, the sudden love of boys, for a man who was kind without being soft, who understood them well enough but not too much, and whose private happiness linked him with their own. He began to make little jokes, the sort that school boys like, mnemonics and puns that raised laughs and at the same time imprinted sometime in the mind. There was one that never failed to please, though it was only a sample. Many others, whenever this Roman history forms came to deal with the lex scandula, the law that permitted partition to marry plebeians, Chips used to add, so that you see, if Miss Plebs wanted Mr. Patrician to marry her and he said he could not, he probably replied, "Oh yes, you can, you liars of the latter." And Cathy broadband his views and opinions, also giving him an outlook for far beyond the roofs and the doors of the Brookfield, so that he saw his country as something deep and gauges to which Brookfield was but one of the many feeding streams. She had a cleverer brain than his, and he could not confute her ideas, even if and when he disagreed with them. He remained for instance a conservative in politics despite all her radical socialist talk, but even where he did not accept, he absorbed her young idealism, worked upon his maturity to produce an amalgam very gentle and wise. Sometimes she pursued him completely. Brookfield, for example, ran a mission in East London to which boys and the parents contributed generously with money but rarely with personal contact. It was Cathy who suggested that a team from the mission should come to the Brookfield and play one of the school's event at Suzor. The idea was revolutionary that from anyone but Catherine it could not have survived its first frosty reception. To introduce a group of these slum boys to the serene pleasantness of the better class youngsters seemed at first a wanton stirring of all kind of the things that had better be left out. The whole stuff was against it, and the school, if its opinion could have been taken, was probably against it too. Everyone was certain that the last and leads would be technologians, or else that they would be made to feel uncomfortable anyhow. There would be incidents and everyone would be confused and upset, yet Catherine persisted. Chips, she said, they are wrong, you know, and I am right. I am looking ahead of to the future. They and you are looking back to the past. England is not always going to be divided into officers and the other ranks, and those popular boys are just as important to England as Brookfield is. You have got to have them here, Chips. You cannot satisfy your consciousness by writing a check for a few guidelines and keeping them at arm's length. Besides, they are proud of the Brookfield just as you are. Years hence, maybe boys of that sort will be coming here, a few of them at any rate. Why not? Why ever not, Chips dear? Remember, this is 1897, not 67. When you were up at Cambridge, you got your ideas well stuck in those days, and good ideas they were too, a lot of them, but a few, just a few, Chips, want unsticking.